Stephen, the director, and Tom, the actor, please, out for a Q&A. Great, so that was quite something. So we're going to have about 20-30 minutes to do a Q&A. I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of think of some questions, because I've got a question to pose to each one of them, and then we'll sort of open up to sort of general questions. So I wanted to start, Stephen, with you. Stories begin in all sorts of different places. Sometimes they come in a flash of inspiration, sometimes they grow within you for a long time. Where did this one come from?
I'd just made a more conventional film before this and wondered if there wasn't a different way of making a film. And also was interested in pointing the camera at a different subject. In other words, it's not Jason Bourne, it's not a conventional hero or villain, it's an ordinary man who doesn't what is considered to be an ordinary job, but just looking for the drama within what people do, like construction managers. You know, it's a big dramatic thing when the concrete arrives. And also, it's someone who's made a mistake and looking at it's the end of the world for the people involved. It's not going to make the papers or the local news, but the people involved, it's the end of the world, and just say, you know, that justifies a film as well.
Fantastic. And Tom, actors often, obviously, receive lots of scripts, lots of stories to read. This landed with you. You read it. What were your first thoughts?
I didn't read it, actually. Yeah, actually, that's a loaded question. I went to meet Steve about something else, and can you hear me? Is this working?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, okay. Yeah, I went to meet Steve to write something that I really wanted him to write, and he was unavailable completely, but there was this short film that he had, which was only, 20 minutes long, and maybe 15 pages at most. He hadn't really got down but he hadn't really, but it would be really great to do. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. Do you know what I mean? So I've got a couple of weeks, it's a short film, it's, not going to be a huge responsibility, and I'd love to work with Steve. So he said, it's only 30 pages long, and then he delivered me a 90-page feature film, and 2 weeks to learn it. And so I read it in the film, actually. I was reading off an autocue for the whole thing.
Wow, okay, I mean, that's very different, isn't it? Really different. But did you find that really exciting?
Yeah, the whole approach is, there are so many risks have been taken in this film, which I'm really grateful to be a part of the team, to be honest, because, and I think if people who do find it compelling, as I do, it's really testament to the fact that it's such a great script, and the dialogue is so good it leads you from one critical point to another as you watch the deconstruction and the construction of a new life, and an old one destroyed and left behind, and as a play it stands up, as a radio play it stands up, and then what we had the benefit of, and I certainly did, was being able to be filmed during a rehearsal period as opposed to and a lot of film is shooting rehearsals really, because you don't have the same rehearsal times you do in theatre, but what you see is literally what we had. That was our rehearsal and our acting and our prep and everything. It's just all there, and it's been financed and cobbled together by people who took a huge risk, to be honest, and a bit of an alligator in a bathtub, really.
Okay, let's open up to some questions. So I'm going to kind of go from one side to the other. So we'll start over here. Have we got a question over here? Anyone got a question? Who's going to be brave and ask the first one? There's a gentleman down here. Can we get a microphone there? Thank you. If we can keep them short.
Hi guys, absolutely fantastic film. Tom, just a question for you. In terms of the portrayal of it was really emotionally charged. Where did you get your inspiration from in terms of such a emotionally charged performance like that?
Just the script, mate, and listen to. Oh, hello. That didn't come out of me. Part machine. Like, yeah, just the script and listening to the voices at the end of the phone, and obviously, with some scripts you don't have to act at all. Some scripts I love to crowbar a bit of character on which isn't there, and some people wince at the fact that I overact or whatever. But You know, but I enjoy overacting as well. And all that, but that's my want. But in something like this, the dialogue will trigger certain emotional response at times. And in this particular piece, it's more about containment as opposed to, you know, there's no real explosion. And Locke is the type of character who manages pressure in a way whereby his voice, and if you didn't look at the screen and you just listened to it, it doesn't really change. You know, he maintains a very steady sound, which is really hard because you want to, you know, press all the buttons and, you know, be a bit of a fruit machine, you know, and show lots of lights, and, you know, especially if you're on your own, you want to show what you can do a bit, or maybe push, but if you sit with it, and it kind of happens. And then there's tear stick and auto cues and all kinds of, like, you know, magic and bollocks that you can use as well. So ultimately, a script should unlock your emotional life, I would imagine, as another actor.
Very good, thank you.
Fantastic. Have we got a question from over here? Who's going to ask the second one? I think there's a gentleman just next to you there. I think he's a gentleman.
Stephen, when you wrote the script, was Locke Welsh, or did Tom act in Welsh?
Tom acted in Welsh. No, I mean, he was. Yeah, no, but he needed to be from a working class background, and a lot of working class accents in Britain are quite abrasive or come with baggage, like London or Liverpool. But Tom brought Welsh to us, and it turns out that it's the perfect accent because it's sort of lyrical and it's quite calm, even though feasibly that person can be from a very poor background. But there's something very calm and controlled about it, and I think it really helps. But I mean, I think that Tom had a friend with a Welsh accent that you used.
Yeah, there was a lad who took me out somewhere, who remained very calm under pressure, and I based it on him and a little bit of Richard Burton under Milkwood, and a bit of Ivor the Engine, and a bit of Fireman Sam because my son loves him. And but there's something very gentle and calming and soothing as well about a Welsh accent. So that you have this sort of tough as granite types who are also very mellifluous with their voice, even though it's very regulated and compassionate and calm sounding, and it seemed to fit with the pace and the pathos of the piece. And that sounds really arty, but you know, it just sounded like it just felt right, to be honest.
I think it worked very well, actually. So we've got another question from over here. We're sort of hovering out. There's another gentleman up there.
Yeah. I was just wondering a little bit about what the process of filming it was, the technical challenges of how you shot it, and where the actors were that you were speaking to at the other end of the phone.
Normally when you make a film, there's always a great reason not to do the obvious, and there's always a practical reason not to do the obvious. But with this, we did it almost in a sort of naive way, where we had the actors in a conference room in a hotel near the motorway with some red wine and biscuits, with a phone line to the car. Tom was in the vehicle, and we shot the whole film from beginning to end every time we did it, so that we would have a complete film, and then we do it again. We tried to do it twice a night, so that we would end up with 16 versions of the film. So instead of doing takes and cuts and retakes, we tried to say, okay, action once, and then film it.
I mean, that's very different, though, isn't it? I mean, that really is very different to how you make films. So, but 16 days is also quite short.
It wasn't even 16.
It wasn't even?
No, 16.
So it's 16 times. 5 for you. I mean, that's astonishing.
But in the end, because it's a very small environment, the car, and it's controlled, then at the end you've got everything you could possibly get. And then, you know, why do more? But it's going back to the fact that, and Tom knows better than me, that the making of a film is always ridden with illogical stuff that people swear to you is the reason that you have to do it. There's a reason for doing it. When you always feel, just do it, just shoot the thing.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've got another question lined up. Anyone buzzing to answer? So we've got someone down here. Are there no women in the audience who want to ask Tom a question? Come on. All right, we'll have one more gentleman, and I really would like a woman to ask a question, please.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, so a lot of the dialogue is given over to the technical aspects of construction and concrete, so I'd be interested in how you made sure that that was absolutely accurate and fully researched. Who helped you with that?
The person who built the Shard in London, which is I think it's the tallest building in London, I think it is. The person who was the site engineer of that is the person who, well, we both went and met him and spent some time with him, and he talked to us about concrete, but the point sort of was that he spent sleepless nights, he didn't go home, he drank too much because he had the responsibility of building this building, not the architect, him. And he had to organise the concrete arriving, he had to organise all the people and the whole business of building that building, and nobody will ever know who he is. So it's almost like saying again, the point of the film is you get people who never get any recognition for what the drama of their life, but it is worthy, even just that is worthy of a film.
Fantastic. Okay, we've got time for one last question. So was there a woman that wanted to ask a question?
Hi.
There we go.
It was just a question for Tom. Hi. Do you prefer the intimacy of a movie like this, or do you prefer a bigger, showy film such as Batman? And also, how comfortable was it being confined in that car for so long?
I love everything, to be honest. I'm a bit greedy for life and hungry for experience, so I'm just as home anywhere, really. And any sort of role has its own opportunities to present solutions or otherwise, more problems or whatnot. So, to be honest, I was just really grateful to be part of a team doing, something fun again, and different. There's no difference between stage theatre, film, independent film, radio, or even a rehearsal room. There's absolutely no difference in approach. There may be different approaches just because of the nature of the circumstance, but it's all basically the same stuff. And I love all of it, and I like to overact, and I like to, underact, and I don't really like being rubbish, but I am rubbish sometimes as well, and I'm human, so I'm just really grateful to be part of.
Well, we're going to have to draw it to a close there, but thanks ever so much for coming. I want to say a huge thank you to Stephen Knight and to Tom Hardy. Before you depart, also, I'd like to say a huge thank you obviously to Lionsgate, a huge thank you to Cineworld, and a huge thank you to Film Birmingham for helping put on this evening. And thank you very much for coming, and do spread the word about the film. Thank you.